else.
Right, so it is the eve of the big fight night between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin, and the undercard, since I last moaned about it, has improved a little bit. Now, I'm going to talk about the main event, Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Povetkin, and of course give you my prediction for how I feel this fight is going to go. Now, first of all, I know a lot of people have this illusion even that this is going to be a very, very easy walkthrough fight for Joshua, which for me is very strange because Povetkin's never been stopped, ever. Okay, he's hit the deck before, but that was only against Vladimir Klitschko, when you could probably argue Vladimir Klitschko was pretty much at his peak. Okay, and Klitschko was using all kinds of dirty tactics, so it's not like he just went in there and just beat him up. Not at all. He was leaning on him, he was elbowing him in the jaw, he was getting him in arm locks and throwing him around the ring. Klitschko was very, very lucky to not be disqualified or get points docked in this fight. Now, Alexander Povetkin, for me, is arguably Joshua's toughest test to date. And it's debatable, that's for sure. But for me, I think that Povetkin, listen, he's 39 years old. This is last chance saloon. Why do you think that Vladimir Klitschko, when he fought Anthony Joshua, went... Oh no, he seemed to turn the clock back and just go for it and put on one hell of a show? Because he knew that was last chance saloon. It was do or die. And that's going to be the same for Povetkin. That's why I predict that this fight is going to go to war. It really is. And I'm got a feeling that Joshua is going to get hurt. He's going to have to come through some tough times in this fight. And so is Povetkin. Because both of these guys do not want to lose this fight. It's not like Joshua's fighting a guy who is halfway through his career and just wouldn't mind on the resume of, I once fought Anthony Joshua. Not at all. Okay. Joshua's in there with a guy who wants to beat Joshua. He's not interested in having Joshua on the resume. He wants to beat him because he wants to become a world champion. Okay? So, this is very, very dangerous for Joshua. Now, Joshua's strengths are his range and his strength and his brute power at times. And he's getting more and more skillful, more and more ring savvy as each fight goes along. Against Joseph Parker, he showed that he can box, where a lot of people said that he can't box. So against Parker, he beat a boxer. Okay, so this one, I expect Joshua to try and go for the knockout. So I'm expecting a more brutal Joshua. And Joshua is going to be behind the jab, and he's going to have to try and keep Povetkin at range. Because Povetkin, he likes to get in on the inside, where he will use the short right hooks, and if he's just on the outside, he will almost jump forward with the left hook. And that's what stops a lot of Povetkin's opponents, as we've seen against David Price and many others before that. So Joshua needs to be very, very careful. He needs to keep his glove up at all times. Keep his right glove up, because it's that left is more deadly than the right. Listen, the right could knock you out, no doubt about it, but it seems to be the left is the one, even though Povetkin is right-handed. He is an orthodox fighter. Now, for Joshua to beat him, he's going to have to hurt him, he's going to have to stun him, and he's going to have to pressure him. But don't pressure him too much, because Carlos Takam, you see, he tried that tactic where he would just get in there and trade with him and try and bully and push around Povetkin. Povetkin likes that. If you can come and fight him, that's his back garden right there. The way to beat Povetkin is keep him on the outside. When Povetkin tries to get on the inside, wrap him up. Just frustrate him. Use your weight at times. When you're in the clinch, just let one leg go, if you like. Just put that little bit of weight on. All the weight, that is going to eventually tire Povetkin. We've seen it before. But there again, Povetkin, he's looking a lot trimmer in this fight than what I've seen him in a long, long time. It's just to the eye. I haven't seen the weigh-in yet. I know that's today. But I'm expecting Povetkin to be fully prepared to go the 12 rounds, but he's going to go there to try and take off Joshua's head. Okay, and he's going to try and do that early doors, and I think he may just go all or bust in the first few rounds. So if Joshua can weather that storm and maybe counter him, because again, that's one of Joshua's very, very good strengths. He's a very, very good counter puncher. Very, very fast hands. Very underrated with that. So Joshua needs to keep him on the outside, jab him, throw some straight rights, because for whatever reason, Povetkin's not exactly the best mover in the world with his head. So he can get clipped with a straight right or a straight left. It can happen. So for me, I think that Joshua needs to really, really apply that. Now, of course, hey, listen, Joshua's already got his game plan. He's got an expert in Rob McCracken and plenty of other advisors. He doesn't have to listen to me. I'm just a nobody here on YouTube, right? So, but for me, I think that's what Joshua needs to do. Just frustrate him. If necessary, don't go for the knockout. If it doesn't present itself, don't force it. Because that's when you're liable to be counterpunched yourself. Because as much as Joshua is a very good counterpuncher, so is Povetkin. He really is. And Povetkin will hurt Joshua. And don't be surprised if Joshua hits the deck in this fight. Do not be surprised. Likewise, don't be surprised if Povetkin hits the deck in this fight as well. Because Joshua's going to want to make a point. Povetkin is certainly going to want... Because, you know what? This is 39 years old. It's do or die now for Povetkin. If he loses to him, what does he do after then? When is he going to get another opportunity? That other opportunity is going to be a couple of years away. Does he have a couple of years left? The only way that Povetkin can bounce back is by taking on somebody at the top, say a Luis Ortiz, or a Dylan White, or a Dominic Brazil. That's the only way he can get back into it. But would these guys want to risk their status against someone like Povetkin? I know Dylan White would, but I couldn't honestly see Luis Ortiz doing it. As much as I would love to see that fight, by the way. But this is going to be a case of Povetkin. You're going to see a very, very aggressive Povetkin. He may start off a little bit tentative, but after the first round or two, I think you're going to see Povetkin go for it. And he's going to be trying to throw bombs. Each shot is going to be meaningful. Each shot is to make a statement. Each shot is to put Joshua off his game plan. Because don't forget that Povetkin, for me, has the best resume in the heavyweight division right now. And again, I know that people say, but he lost to Klitschko. Joshua beat Klitschko, so therefore he has a better resume. And it's an arguable point. But if you look outside of the Klitschko, Povetkin hands down right now. So he's very experienced. He knows what to do. He knows how to set traps. He's like a cat waiting. He really is. And he will pounce at the split second opportunity. And Joshua needs to be very, very aware on this one. Joshua needs to move his feet a lot more than what he usually does. I'm not saying to him that he needs to hold the center of the ring. If necessary, we may actually see Joshua fighting on the back foot, waiting for Povetkin to slow down and tire a bit. So therefore, Joshua may give away a couple of rounds here and there. But this is a very tough fight. And I hope that people are right when people say that Joshua's just going to walk through him in the first couple of rounds. But for me, I don't think so. Not at all. If this was Povetkin, say, 2-3 years ago, maybe. Because Povetkin knows that he's got time to come back. But now, he doesn't really have time to come back. So this is do or die, much like it was for Klitschko. So expect a very, very tough fight. And my prediction for this fight is actually going to be an Anthony Joshua win on points. That's what I think is going to happen. I hope it's going to be Anthony Joshua win by knockout. That's what I hope. But as I said, do not be surprised at all if both of these guys hit the deck in this fight. I said it with Dylan White, that don't be surprised if both of these guys get dropped in this fight, and it happened. Likewise with Vladimir Klitschko, and it happened. Now, that doesn't mean I'm Nostradamus, not at all. I just feel that their styles and the aggression that Povetkin's going to bring, don't let this little demeanour fool you, where he sat in a press conference, he's very humble, he's nice, he'll smile, he'll shake your hand, he'll have pictures with you. No. He's an animal. He's an absolute animal. Povetkin is, for me, a Hall of Famer at some point. Joshua's in for a very, very hard night. If he can't get Povetkin out of there in the first couple of rounds, then Joshua's in for a very, very tough night. And he needs to be switched on from beginning to end. And if that means going 12 rounds, then he needs to stay switched on for 12 rounds. Keep Povetkin away from him. Jab him, sting jab him. Don't just tap him. He needs to literally put some force into that jab. And if necessary, if Povetkin tries to come forward, I know Joshua likes to try and get people away with the uppercut. Listen, if he drops his right hand in order to try and land that uppercut, that leaves Povetkin open to hit him with a big left hook. So it's not really a good idea that he tries that. Unless, of course, he's real confident that Povetkin isn't going to be able to do it. If Povetkin's starting to slow down and get tired, sure, go for it. But ultimately, get the win. That's the only important thing, get the win. It doesn't matter the fact that there's so many people saying that Joshua needs to put on a great display. He doesn't need to at all. He just needs to win. That's all he needs to do. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it all. I think that Anthony Joshua is going to have to be very, very smart in this one. And if necessary, go to points. And that's what I think is going to happen. But I would hope, I really hope, that Joshua puts Povetkin away. But as I said, do not be surprised at all if Joshua hits the deck. And I know there's going to be a lot of people, if this fight goes a distance, that people are going to be saying that Joshua is overrated and he should have got him out there. Based on what? Really? Based on what? No. If Joshua stops Povetkin, he becomes the very first person to do so. But don't try and put his eggs all in one basket and try and get him out of there. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours, click that thumbs up and subscribe. Catch you all on the very next video.